Okay, I want to take a few minutes to explain the surgery of Bren and how that all went. So, just like a little backtracking, this was 5 years ago when we first discovered that he had any sort of an issue. So, the pictures are actually kind of flipped because, oopsie, the tibia and the other pictures is on this side. So, this is a back angle view. So, a normal leg, you've got your fibula, which is like on the outer side of your bone, and then you have your tibia, which is like your shin bone, the biggest bone in your lower leg. So this was what Bren's looked like, and you can see how it's bowing, and the tumor, original tumor, was here, and that's when we discovered it 5 years ago. So for over 2 years, it was just, oh, it'll fracture, it'll heal, it'll fracture, it will heal, blah 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 blah. And that's when we moved over to Dr. Post, who's an orthopedic oncologist in South Bend. And there are only 6 orthopedic oncologists um, in the state. So this is a rare specialty. We went to him. Yep, we're going to correct it. Um, so then we had the surgery, which was in October of 2019. And so what they did, or what he did, is he took out this chunk basically of bone, um, and packed it with cadaver, like soft tissue cadaver. He reinforced it with 6 screws and a plate. And we thought, okay, this was it. This all looked awesome. Um, that wasn't the case. So then his surgery was in 2019, like I said, and then, or in October, and then you can see 1 month later. Now, what is puzzling to me, and again, if I question anything he said, then I was like the devil and an incompetent piece of crap. So you can see here, he's like, oh yeah, everything looks good. And then it almost just looks messy to me. I don't know. It just looks messy to me. And then, literally a month later, after the surgery, you can see that it's starting to crack. Um, and his solution was, well, we just need to let it heal. We need to let it heal. We need to let it heal. Um, so that brings us to then October of 2020. And even though he said the bone was clinically healed, we start having some new tumors. Now, mind you, this October 2020 and the bone clinically healed is after he went through the bone marrow transplant. Taking a step back, the original surgery, if it was a typical non ossifying fibroma tumor, was a 3 to 6 month recovery, and that's it. Um, so you can see here, we're already a year out. And this is after surgery one and the bone marrow transplant, which was in June 2020. But if you look closely, in my opinion, I can still see a break here and a break here. And now we've got some other issues going on. This was in what it looked like in, I want to say, March of this year. And if you look closely, again, you can see the break, this dark area down here. And in my opinion, it really looks like not only is this tibia bending and bowing, but look how bent the fibula is. Okay, so that brings us to this surgery today. Um, so this is what it looks like currently. And just pretend like this area is not here. So we're just, because this is just swelling, this is actually tissue, same thing over here. So I just want you guys to look at the actual bones. You can see that the tibia is perfectly straight. It looks amazing. The tibia is also, I'm sorry, the fibula is also straight. I'm mind blown how they can actually straighten bones. It's crazy to me. So you can see here that there's a purposeful break in the fibula. It's called I don't remember off the top of my head. I don't know. Regardless, it's called something. Um, so they leave that in hopes that it will continue to grow on its own and just give strength to Brennan. Um, and that's going to be the overall goal of the fibula. You can see that the tibia is the most beautiful tibia I've ever seen in my life. It's all straight. You can see down here that they attached a screw barely to the fibula just for reinforcement. And then they, instead of cutting, because his original scar was from about here to about here, they went ahead and cut a little bit lower. This down here is his growth plate, so that's not broke. So they made an incision that's a little bit bigger, but instead of cutting up and going through more tissue and muscle damage, they just made a small incision here and a small incision here through his skin, and they drilled the screws or whatever they are through the actual skin through those incisions, which is pretty fascinating. But the coolest part of the surgery to me is this white area here. It almost looks like a rod of sorts. So starting here, this area. So instead of using the soft cadaver like they used the first time where they packed it in, he was talking about, Dr. Johnson was talking about how they were going to use a more cortical bone and sort of graft. And I'm like, well, I wonder what that is. So he was explaining to me that the fibula is the most dense bone in our body. Dense meaning it's not going to be able to, it'll be harder to grow tumors, harder to grow fibers, things like that. So they took the approach, and it was so cool that there was an orthopedic trauma surgeon with Dr. Johnson and working with Dr. Anderson from Boston. And this plan was so well thought out and so methodical in their planning process that it just all came together to look so beautiful. So instead of saying, oh, here's what we could do, here's what we could do, blah, 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 it was no, what's going to be best for Bren and what's going to be best chance for survival, not survival, but in terms of healing. What they did then is they, instead of using, like I said, just that soft bone, cadaver bone, they took a portion of a fibula, not Bren's, but a cadaver fibula, and they cut it down to pack in. Well, first of all, they took out all that old cadaver crap that Dr. Post put in, and they took out all of the fibers and tumors. So what they did is they took that fibula, cadaver fibula from, let's say, Sally or Billy, and they put it into the tibia as far as being the center or the support. Then they took his bone and packed it around that cadaver, the fibula, to give it a better chance to survive and heal. So taking something foreign and combining it with his own living cells and bone to give it a better chance of survival. And you can see that they left the bone break here in hopes that this bone graft will spark some healing as well. So it's pretty amazing that he has a portion of a fibula now inside of his tibia. But I do want to show you something that's pretty crazy. If I pull up, hang on, I'm going to snap my screens. If I pull up side-by-side views, let me zoom this out. Okay, so this is, an hour, 20 minutes after the first surgery, and this is an hour, 20 minutes after this third surgery. So to me, this is so sloppy. I can see that his bone is still bent. I can see that the plate is really not that great. I can still see like the dark area where it's gross. It's mind blowing. But what is crazier to me is the fact that look at the gap in here. Like um, the plate. First of all, they bent the plate around the tibia instead of actually correcting the bend. But the gap in between here is so unbelievably crazy to me. This screw here and this screw here were both broken off inside of his bone. Um, Again, I'm blown away at this versus this. Um, so I'm super pumped. Um, I really have a good feeling about this. Um, anyway, that's the procedure. What procedure? That's the 4-hour ordeal that he has dealt with. He's got 10 weeks non-weight bearing completely, and we'll go from there. Thanks for taking such an active interest in everything that's going on for us. We could not have done this without your support.